So let's talk about calligraphy. Now, in terms of calligraphy in the Muslim tradition, we're going to get to that in a second, but I want to define or deal with calligraphy in general first. And calligraphy exists, of course, in English and just about every form of language. It is the artistic reinterpretation of the written language. So what you're looking at is on the right, different forms of calligraphy. We might call it fonts today in the world of computers, but different forms of calligraphy for English, and on the left in Arabic. So this is an old tradition, one you find in Asia, in the Western world, all over. And we're looking at a very specific form of calligraphy here. We're looking at Kufic calligraphy. Now, calligraphy in general held an honorable place among art in Islam. It still does to this day. And this form, Kufic, was based on a desire to reproduce the Quran. They were concerned that any reinterpretation, not just the language, not just translating it into other languages, but also altering the letter form itself, could have consequences for the interpretation of the Quran. So they create Kufic, which is a specific form of calligraphy used in the Quran. And then that form, of course, will be reinterpreted by artists later on. And it's considered a holy task with a need for exceptional spiritual refinement to create these Kufic scripts. And of course, Arabic script will predate Islam. And what they're doing as we move through Kufic in different forms is they're stylizing the letters. At the top, we see the Latin letter A and then some stylization. At the bottom, we see the same thing with the Arabic letter B. And we see it altered in these different calligraphic forms. Kufic is used for the Quran beginning in at least the 9th century, we believe possibly earlier. Tends to be very angular and based in the city of Kufa, which was a center of calligraphy at the time. The decorative use of calligraphy also predates the Quran. And they will use consonants only, as in Hebrew and other Semitic languages. Sometimes you will see red or yellow symbols. These are used to incorporate vowels for ease of reading. And here we're specifically looking at the Quran page with the beginning of Surah 18 in the 9th or 10th century. A surah is a specific recitation by Muhammad. So this is Surah 18. And this is a very early version going back to the 9th or 10th centuries. What we're seeing here are 5 lines of text with red vowels below a gold band incorporating the title and a palm finial. So let's break that down real quick. We have our vowels, which you see here, for example, and again here. And these are marking various vowel sounds, various phonetic elements in the text. Here we have a stylized gold band, which will incorporate the title within it. And we have our palm finial as a decorative element on the other side. Now, as we look closer, you can really pick out some of those elements. And what they're looking for is control here. Spirituality through control. So when they create this calligraphy, they're trying to create the perfect form. And this is a tradition, again, that we see elsewhere. In Jewish tradition, the Torah must be written in a specific form. It must start at a specific place. It must end at a specific place. And it must be perfect or it must be destroyed. We're seeing the same here. In Chinese calligraphy, we see the same thing. This desire to create the perfect letter. And it's something that is probably dying out in the Western world today because of the use of computers. While it still exists, it's not as prevalent. Now, this use of decorative form, altering the letters, altering, for example, the title in that gold band, should also look familiar because it's very similar to what we see in Irish insular manuscripts. So these are manuscripts created in Ireland by these insular Hermetic monks. So these are monks who are very isolated. All they're doing is copying texts, and they're going to, again, alter the form of the text for the purpose of beautification. The same thing we're seeing in this page of the Quran. In both cases, the text and the ornament are united. They have to play off of one another. So all of the ornament here is keyed in on the text. Same thing here at the beginning of the book of Matthew, which we see in our Irish example. Now, of course, in the Quran, we see no human heads, we see no animals, but you're going to see the use of language in its place, much more than what we see in the Irish example, where if you started really looking, you would start to see animals and human heads and other elements within all of this knotwork surrounding the actual text.